It is the greatest privilege of my professional career to have this opportunity, and this is the stuff I've been dealing with since I was a kid.
Yeah.
This is sort of is the stuff I spend my free time daydreaming about as an adult as well, and I get to bring it into life. And there is no greater reason than I joined the industry than doing something like this, and I'm very happy to be here.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, Sad, Confused begins now.
I'm Josh Horowitz, and today on Happy, Sad, Confused, we have a returning champion, I believe for the third time on the podcast, and a newcomer to the podcast. He's a glutton for punishment. He was just on the show. He's back for more. They are reteaming after many years apart on a wonderful, awesome, super fun new movie called Argylle, and more importantly, they're teaming up for Happy, Sad, Confused today. It's Matthew Vaughn and Henry Cavill. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much.
Hello.
It's good to see you both. Congratulations on the movie. I'll gush on the record, too. I mean, I gushed off mic, which is meaningless because it's more important for them to actually see it on camera. Right, Matthew?
It'd be nice.
Yeah. The movie's awesome. It's super fun. I've seen it twice. Didn't have to, wanted to. So I encourage everybody to check it out. Matthew, when we were chatting about this just a few months back, we talked a little bit about the challenges of something like this, the excitement of something like this, which is, well, based on IP technically.
I'm not sure how many lies I said to you. I've had the time of my life doing this press because I've just been lying. You know, the greater the spy,
please.
the bigger the lie, and it's a whole new arena, the world of lies. And,
Continue, please. I love it.
So it's been fun saying some truths, some mistruths, some upside down truths. But go see the movie, and it will all work itself. Well, hopefully you've now seen it.
It does make sense.
After you interviewed about it, were you in there? Did you feel satisfied by maybe being a little bit misled, or were you irritated, or did it hopefully make you just go, all right?
There was no irritation. There was sheer. I let myself go with the ride and came out of it with some questions, but a satisfying experience that. You don't want one of those things that just like, oh, you got to wait 3 more years for the next one for this to be satisfying. You need it to work on its own, and this one does.
Okay. I'm interested what the questions are.
Well, we'll get there. We're going to do spoilers a little bit later on.
Oh, spoiler questions.
But the challenges.
I'm not interested in the questions.
The challenges and excitement of delivering something like this that, Argylle doesn't mean anything to anybody before the marketing campaign of this began. Now, you've been through this to a degree before.
I go through the pain and the torture of trying to do new IP, and and I'd say to studios in the past, present, probably in the future, when Star Wars, when Raiders, when these movies came out, Back to the Future, they were fresh original IP. They weren't based on anything in the sense that they were new. Right, yeah. And then I think marketeers just got comfortable with just saying they wanted branded IP in the studio. The studio's like branded IP. That's all they've been looking for, and I'm learning it even on this. What's hard when you're trying to launch new IP is, in theory, you need to spend more money because you need to educate people what the IP is, and you can't just do the same rules for branded IP because it's non-branded, and that's why a lot of non-branded IP doesn't work because it wasn't given the more chance, and because it's unbranded IP, the studio don't want to spend more money on it. They would rather spend much more money on Superman or Bond or Harry Potter, and I'm like, spend less money on that, guys. You just got to put the date up. We all know what
that is already.
Yeah, you can, but if you really want to create new stuff, you've got to be brave and you have to commit. So we're going through it now. Argylle, it's not easy to get people to lean in or understand what it is. And I hope, why we're doing this is like, guys, is if the audience complains they don't have enough fresh movies, they got to support fresh movies. It's simple as that, and give it a chance, and then they'll get rewarded with more. So it's a vicious circle that we're trying to break right now.
So before we get to Argylle, I do want to talk about your connections in the past, because this goes way back to Stardust, of course, 2007.
Yes.
Henry, give me a sense of where you were at in your life when that came around, because by looking at the career, you were a working actor. You had a prosperous career. You'd done kind of Monte Cristo. Maybe Tudors was around the corner.
Yeah.
Was it a big opportunity, a big moment to get into the audition room for Matthew Vaughn and Stardust at the time?
Obviously, yes. I think it's interesting that you said, I was a working actor, had my career going. At that stage of a career, you don't feel like you have your career going at all. Yeah. It takes like a solid 15 years and go like, oh, I guess
they're not
things
gonna
are going
kick me out
okay.
yet.
Yeah. It was wonderful working with Matthew because I just got to see what it was like working on one of those movies where you're working with a director who has a particular vision. And I'd worked with Kevin Reynolds before as well, fantastic director. But this was my other big movie. And Matthew was very generous with all of us. I have a lasting memory of us all spending time with him in his house. And that was a really, really good experience because you got to see the mind of the person who's creating the thing and also spend time with the person. And you realize that there is a life outside of just the work on set. And coming from the sort of background I came from, it's all about work, work, work. And Matthew showed me that it can be both. And I think I'd forgotten that lesson for many years. But then being back on set, you're reminded and you think, oh, this can be fun and it can be about connections and you're supposed to have a great time. And Matthew's just good at cultivating that environment.
I would also imagine, just as, again, our many conversations about the kind of films and stuff we were raised on, that was basically the first kind of genre project you'd done. Yeah. So it must have been exciting just to be in that world.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was there so briefly, mind.
Well, you made an impact, Humphrey.
Yeah. I love seeing people's faces. They're like, oh my God, that was you in that movie.
What is it with you and giving him unusual haircuts in movies? It goes back to Humphrey. People are talking about this one.
When you're blessed with this face, it gives you poetic license to have a little bit more fun with it.
I mean, he was the first person to give me the moustache. Right. Yeah.
Mission Impossible, you're hard out. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's. I suppose actually one of the great things is that Matthew allows me to be characters, which a lot of people don't. They want me to be a certain thing, and so I'm really enjoying acting more now, being a bit more loose and enjoying playing something left of stoic.
Right. Yeah, and there's some inherent
left of stoic. I like
Yeah.
We went to the same school, which you're old Stoics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you remember what you saw in that first audition way back when?
Well, with Henry, charm, and Humphrey was meant to be sort of what's the word? A dick, right?
I was waiting. I was really curious.
I was trying to
And
find
he was.
But he had to have a charm to him, especially at the end. And I was always wanting the look that you have between De Niro and yourself at the end was it's priceless. And I knew Henry could do that. Like Henry would. I just knew he could do it. I had no doubt. No doubt.
I would imagine your audition days, if not entirely behind, maybe entirely behind you. Do you relish that at this point? Like, were you somebody that enjoyed that? I talked to actors that have so many different kind of feelings about auditioning. Like, it's an opportunity, or just it gnaws them up inside, or...
I mean, yeah, all auditions are opportunities. There's no doubt about that. But they are also... It is... I don't know what the process is like now, but certainly back in my day, horrific process. It's terrible. I mean, this room has more character than the rooms you'd sit in typically. It'd be sort of a white office room.
It's horrific doing the audition.
I bet.
Because these people come in and you know how desperately they want the part. And it's horrible just thinking, A, only one person's going to get it. But also it's terrible. Some people come in and I used to sometimes watch X Factor with Simon Cowell going, oh, it is what it's like. And there are some people that they just don't want to act. They want to be famous. And it's terrible. They come in and I'm like, why are you wasting my time and everyone's time? It's unfair. And I think, but auditioning, I really do try and help people through the audition, and I have casting directors going, why are you being so nice to these people? Why are you they're useless. Get them out of the room. Right. It's so odd because the environment normally you're reading like with someone who can't, because acting's also reacting to the person that you're acting to, and you got someone who's with a cigarette. Well, it used to be like a cigarette, and then sort of
just reading off a page,
badly,
sort of slightly deadpan, and watching you with judgy eyes, and you're like,
if they're even watching you,
exactly, right. Or they got a picture of the neck. They're looking at a picture of another actor right in front of you with a big tick next to it. It's tough. It's a really horrible. But I'm more interested. We talked about this coming over in chemistry tests,
right?
Because even you can cast the 2 greatest actors in the world, but they still might not have chemistry together,
right?
And that's the unknown. So I'm a big believer in chemistry tests, even with movie stars, and I say it protects you, me, and the audience. So it's important.
And touching on both of those things, it's sometimes you just have a bad audition,
right?
And it doesn't mean you're a bad actor, but then that cast director goes, "Oh, they're terrible," or that director says you're terrible. I did an audition for Patrick Stewart many moons ago for The Lion in Winter, and I walked in there, and Patrick's there doing sort of the reading with you, and I completely dropped the ball. I just screwed up the audition. Sometimes it happens. It's like doing a bad take or having a bad couple of takes on set. And afterwards, I called my agent. I said, I screwed the pooch on that one. I got it wrong. And he said, well, do you want to go back in? And I was like, I don't want to bother like Patrick Stewart. I don't want to sort of say I want to go back in. He said, look, just go on back in. It's fine. So he called the casting director, got me back in a few hours later. And afterwards, after I'd sort of relaxed and gone, well, I've ruined it already, so I might as well just go in there and do the thing. Yeah, nothing to lose. And Patrick Stewart said to me afterwards, he said, I'm really glad you came back. Thank you. And that was a big eye-opening moment for me, where I realized it was okay to not get it right every time.
Right.
But also saying that's why the auditioning process is so harsh, because it's not a great read on whether an actor is a good actor or not. It's just whether
such a specific circumstance. It's a different skill set in some ways.
Someone could be great at auditions and terrible on set.
Yeah.
And
vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I bring this up, and we talked about this before, I mean, you can and should take such pride in your casting over the years. I mean, dating all the way back, Layer Cake on. I'm curious, like, does it feel like at this point you have this kind of like coterie of actors that you could call upon and think of when when a new project comes around? And there are a couple here that we've seen in previous films.
Popped up,
so how does casting work at this point? When something like Argyle comes up, can you instinctively just think, oh, Henry would actually be perfect for that?
Well, when I work on the characters, Henry just had a moment, and I'll say it again because he looked so surprised, and I quite like that. It's like, I imagine to old movie stars, so I'm free to cast, and I find people I think will channel what I'm hoping for, but then give it a unique spin. So for me, Argyle was a mixture of Connery and Roger Moore, right? Wow. So when he fought, I wanted it to be Connery.
Easy.
Well, the thing is, now that I've heard it once, I'm not like.
Luckily, he didn't say that to you before doing the part. I assume
he did not. Thank goodness.
No, I tend not to tell the actors. I also think, as an actor, it's not great to be told, "Hey, I wanted you to be like."
You be like other actors. These 2 great actors.
So
you're fine, but these 2 great actors, I'd like you to be more like them.
So that was Argyle in my head, meaning sort of the toughness of Connery, but the one eyebrow raise, which he did without me asking him to do. Did it perfectly with the girls kissing.
I do it by accident sometimes.
Well,
the eyebrow has a mind.
The eyebrow. Well, I can't even raise one eyebrow, so well done. And then with Aidan Wilde, I was really sort of wanting what I call the Gene Wilder, Nicholson, that sort of the clues in the name, the Wilde, but the charm of Gene Wilder as well, and that's where Rockwell came about. But all my movies, you can ask me any character in any movie, and I'll tell you who it was based on. Who was inspired by, and then we find the modern day version, who then turns it into their role.
Had you guys ever? Were you keeping in touch over the years? Had you discussed anything else? I mean, I could imagine. He could fit into the Kingsman world. I mean, presumably.
Yeah, we talked about Kingsman. Still talk about Kingsman. I don't know whether Argyle screwed Kingsman up for you, but never say never.
Who knows? It's your universe.
Yeah. But I'm also you hit an age where you tend to want to work with people that you can get on with, and there's mutual trust and respect, and therefore you can do your best work. And you can make mistakes. You're not going to get punished for making a mistake, and you can fix it together. So you're free. So Yeah, so I also have a secret chemistry test of whether I think I'm going to get on with the person.
The most important chemistry test
They
is you
don't-
with the actor.
Yeah, they don't probably know that part. So actually, it's funny you saying, because I remember when you came down, and really, it was really nice when he came that first time he came to the house, and back then I was trying to encourage, like, again, it was about trust, and so that the actors would feel safe with me. And remember, I wasn't that experienced with actors, so the whole thing of directing actors was slightly intimidating. Well, very intimidating, because if you don't know how to do something, it's quite hard to ask someone to do. You know, I would find it very hard to teach you how to speak Swahili. It's just not going to work out very well. I mean, I'll get a book and I'll figure it out, but I don't know how to speak Swahili, and I don't know whether you do. But if you do, it'll make my life a lot easier. Yeah. So, and that's, you know, so when you came, and I knew Henry was a decent person from that point, and I just try to make sure that they feel safe and I feel safe, and especially back then I really didn't know anything about how, because acting it's still something I have no comprehension how they do it. Right? It's like the thing I really don't understand, and you've noticed I don't really direct them because I can't get my head around sex scenes. It's just something I don't understand.
Henry, take over.
You know, when
I also don't understand him. I'm not a fan.
But I feel quite awkward about it. Yeah, you go, right, okay.
You feel
what
awkward.
I need to do. Well, I do. 'Cause I'm like, okay, guys, I need you two to get in bed, take your clothes off, and I go, wow, is this really acting? I suppose it is, but it's bloody odd.
You know, I think there are circumstances where a sex scene actually is beneficial to a movie, and rather than just the audience.
Yeah.
And
well, I hope so.
It's
I
That's
agree.
the thing. Sort of, I think sometimes they're overused these days.
Right.
And it's when you have a sense that you're going, is this really necessary, or is it people just with less clothing on?
Right.
And that's where you start to get more uncomfortable, and you're thinking, there's not a performance here.
Right.
There's not a piece which is going to carry through into the rest of the movie or be a crescendo moment.
By the way, as soon as that sex scene, that's all.
Yeah. What? Hold on a second. Let's pay attention.
For the record,
I saw Lean forward as well. I was like, do I need to?
But you didn't go to drama school, right? So,
right.
Which I think is why is a very, very is one of your secret weapons, right? So you have a different technique. But I cannot imagine when you go to drama school, they go, right, today we're going to teach you how to do sex scenes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a joke in there somewhere.
There is, but not to be said.
Yeah, not to be said.
No, but I do find it weird. It's like if my daughters became actresses and they went to drama school to learn how to do a sex scene, I'd be furious.
Right. Yeah, and I think sex scenes can be great in a movie. They can really help with the storytelling. Sure. But most of the time, the human imagination is going to trump it.
Right.
And so I think it can be a little bit of a cop-out if a TV show or a movie is just filled with sort of gyrating bodies, and you're going, okay, but I mean, what is this doing for us, apart from the idea of like, oh, naked person, great. Yeah.
Well, and
I agree. Are we just English prudes?
Perhaps. Yeah. But I mean, it's
well, there are different ways. Look, this
I hate directing them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of doing them.
Good.